seems to me people have a problem understanding what's really going on here. Okay, terms have extensions and intensions. The extension comes first. That's the set of things. Okay, we start to recognize these things have something in common, and we put them in this category. And then we work on this intentional idea that describes that category, or if it has a description of the thing, so that if we find something in the wild, we can see if it matches this description. If it does, it should go in that extension. So the intentions, the purpose is to be able to pick things and put them in the right extension. Okay, but we have to realize that our brain has pattern recognition machinery, and it's there from evolution. Before we start thinking it has this, we already have identified those things. By the time we're saying, by the time we're asking things about like the law of identity, and we have an apple and we're going A equals A, apple equals out this apple, and we put it down, we come back and we're asking, is it the same apple? We go to the river and leave and come back, is this the same river? By the time we're asking that, we've identified already, our brain has identified that river. And the task in the intention is to describe something that explains that identification. And notice that description is not in terms of describing the neural network that was able to identify that thing, but other mental inventions and abstractions, metaphorically able to describe describe in these descriptive terms how we make that extension. And yet that still isn't how we're making the extension. Our pattern recognition machinery is doing it. So we've already identified the river, and the question is to define identification so that it works out. Yeah, it's reverse engineered because we are looking for information about the real world. And it's similar to the idea of knowledge. Our brain has recognized things we think of as knowledge. That guy knows how to cook a meal. That guy knows how to fix a car. Those are what we're talking about in knowledge. And you want to come up with an intentional description that says, wait, those aren't really knowledge, because we don't really know those things. And we end up with this set of knowledge, this extension. It's empty now. But all those things we thought were knowledge, knowing how to fix a car, they're still in a set. They're still in a category there. You have to give it a new word. That's the only kind of practical knowledge. So that's going to be the new word for knowledge. Now I say you have decimated and left empty for all intents and purposes. That's the extension of what's knowledge with your objectivist definition of it. So why wouldn't we reuse that word to describe the things it's been describing for hundreds of years and change its definition so that that's possible? Because your set of definition is empty. Now, this is the role of the tautological a priori truths, is they fill this set of knowledge with these abstract, self-referential tautological abstractions, so we can still think that we can get the pure, certain truths that we wanted. But we can't. And those are the special case. And those should be called, tautological truths, not knowledge at all. Knowledge should be about the real world, in my view. And those things, though, should be the thing that gets the new term. But if not, fine. What is the term for all these things that are actual knowledge? Knowledge as can be demonstrated. Knowledge where somebody can turn their knowledge into behavior that accomplishes something predictive, like the car is going to end up running when I'm done doing this. I know how to get the car running means this guy's going to get the car running. If he fails, fine. It's in question whether he really knows how. He might still know how, and this was just too difficult, in which case he didn't know how to fix this car. Okay? So the task is sort of different. We can't discover really nice criteria and then ask the world to match that. The world defines what is real knowledge. If our knowledge is apt to the kind of perceptions we're getting from the world, then it's apt. Otherwise it's not. So we are trying to find definitions of things like identity. Our brain has identified the river being the same. There's a lot of evolutionary, practical reasons why it would do that. It can go down there and get fish. It can go down there and get water. There's a lot of things that for the human animal are the same about it, the same conditions. And none of those rely on it being the same exact material. So that should give us a clue of how we want to define identity. Okay? That it has to take into account that it's the same thing, though it's changing. And is that impossible to work out? No, that's the word system does that for us. What gets to be the same is the system, but we know systems are changing. But since one system evolves into another system, that temporal causal link, that provides us, again, with the sameness. We don't get more sameness than that out of identity. So we have to reverse engineer terms like knowledge and identity to fit the knowledge that we're using, that we're thinking about, that we're working with, that fits the things we're identifying. Granted, sometimes you'll have identified something and you can find out, hey, the identification was an error. I found an error in my pattern recognition, and it's found this pattern that isn't a real pattern. Fine, but is that what you're saying? Are you saying that a guy that knows how to fix a car doesn't really know how to fix a car? No, you're just like raising the bar. You accept that practical knowledge and you raise the bar somehow so that still doesn't count as knowledge. And then if you're going to fill those with a priori truths, and then that's your knowledge, but all you can get is a bunch of self-referential a priori truths then. Those a priori truths can never be about the real world. And that's not the kind of knowledge we're really questioning about. We are human animals trying to live. What's important is the kind of knowledge that helps you live.